Lights, camera, action.
And the winner is...
Welcome back to the Oscar Reel Movie Podcast, where we have our latest streaming movie for quarantine. Today we're talking about Captain Fantastic, which came out in 2016. This is streaming currently on Hulu, if you guys want to check it out.
Yep. Viggo Mortenson was nominated for an Academy Award for this role. It was the only Oscar it got.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
I'm happy for him. He's great in this. He's really, really good in this.
It brought some attention to this movie. I think that's kind of why we watched it, because I didn't know of it, and then he got an Oscar nomination for it. So we both seen this before. We saw it back when, like, the Academy, when the nominations were going on, or when the Academy was doing this year's ceremony. So, kind of happy to be able to revisit it. See it again.
Yeah, it was nice. It was, my turn to pick, and there were a few movies I was debating between, some that we hadn't seen, and I thought, you know what, things are just, sad and dreary. We had snow earlier that day, and so I said, I need, a pick-me-up, and I know that I already like this movie, so let's watch it again, and I feel like I fell in love with it again. It was even better the second time. Kind of how I felt about it. So, yes, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So I'm glad I picked it. I just need something that I know I'm gonna like. It's like when you go to a restaurant. It's like, okay, I always get this, and it always tastes good. Maybe should I venture outside of that? I don't know what I'm gonna get. And it's like, no, I'll go back to my usual. It's kind of how I felt with this. So
playing it safe.
Yeah, exactly. So. Yeah, did you want to give a little synopsis of what the story's about?
Yeah, so the gist of it is, Viggo Mortenson plays a dad of 6 kids, one of which George McKay, who was in 1917 recently.
Yep.
But yeah, he's got 6 kids, and he's raising them in the middle of nowhere, in the mountains, out away from civilization, while his wife is in a hospital.
Because she's dealing with depression and mental illness and stuff.
Yep. So it's some of the stuff he has them do is just crazy. It opens with the oldest son. So George McKay is the oldest one. His son is supposed to catch a deer by hand and kill it. That's how this movie opens. Is him jumping on a deer and slitting its throat. So kind of nuts.
It's kind of a crazy opening, and they're all in dark camouflage type paint and stuff all over their faces.
I assumed it was mud or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then they're boning, or 2 of the girls need the boning knife, and he goes and runs to his youngest daughter, who's using it on a squirrel or something in a treehouse, and Viggo just looks around the treehouse, and she's just got a bunch of skulls and stuff in there,
little animal bones and stuff in her little treehouse.
And he just looks around and goes, Jesus. And I'm like, yeah, that girl's messed up. I get there's not a whole lot to do right now. They're living the quarantine life too, just in the middle of the mountains.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he's raising them that way because that's how him and his wife wanted to raise their kids, away from civilization, so they can actually, learn the proper things in life in his viewpoint, and not get polluted or not get changed by society, how they view it in a negative way. But his wife ends up killing herself, and his father-in-law, or her dad, tells Viggo you're not allowed to come to the funeral. But his kids convince him otherwise, so they get on this giant bus and...
Named Steve. The bus is named Steve.
The bus is named Steve, and they drive to Arizona to, go to the funeral, and it's this, introduction to society for the kids. So, they go to restaurants, and it's what's cola? And Viggo replies, poison water. So he's just got this really negative viewpoint on most of society. They stay with... I can't remember if it's his sister or...
Yeah, it's his sister.
Okay. Who she's married to Steve Zahn. So Steve Zahn in this movie.
And she's played by Catherine Hahn, too.
Yep.
She's in all kinds of stuff.
And they have 2 kids of their own, so it's, you know, this weird mesh of their kids are just playing video games, and, you know, Viggo asks them a simple question of, like, what is the Bill of Rights, and they can't answer it, and then he kind of tries showing them up by having his youngest kid come in and give this profound answer of what is the Bill of Rights. So yeah, it's kind of this journey of, like, introducing the kids to society and what's right or wrong, like, what's the right way to raise them, what's the wrong way to do it, because his in-laws have one viewpoint while he has another. And then in the end, which I like the ending, they kind of meet in the middle a little bit to an extent. So yeah, what were some of your favorite parts of Captain Fantastic?
So I think for me, one of the, like, the scene, like, the one scene that, like, always sticks with me, and I remembered it, like, coming into this, like, oh, this is gonna be so awkward again. So, like, the oldest kid, like I said, played by George Mackay, he, he's, like, 17, 18 years old, because he, like, when they stop into town, like, they stop at, like, their P.O. box, and he's got all these, like, admissions letters and stuff from colleges. So he's, like, about that age. And as they're, like, traveling to Arizona or New Mexico, I thought it was New Mexico. Doesn't matter, but...
No, maybe it
they're
is, yeah.
traveling from, like, they're in the Pacific Northwest, and they're driving their bus down south, and, yeah, they stop at, like, an RV park, and he... you know, meets this girl who's, like, about his age, and they kind of hit it off, and, like, they start making out, whatever, and then he, like, drops down to one knee and proposes to her because he, like, has no concept of, like, how social interactions work and how relationships work between people, and, you know, it's, like, simultaneously you feel so bad for him because, like, he just doesn't know, but also, you know, you kind of look at, because there are some aspects of their life that are kind of nice. Like, they seem just, like, they're all standing around the fire and they're all reading and they start playing songs together. I'm like, oh, this makes me, like, want to go up to the cabin or go camping and kind of, like, unplug, get away from things. But then you realize, like, some of the stuff that they're doing with their kids, they don't know how to have normal interactions with normal people. And so that's always, like, a powerful scene for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of... And that's why I'm glad in the end they compromised, which we'll get to that. But what he's trying to do with the kids, there's a lot of good with it. Like you said, the whole, like reading...
the intention behind it is always good.
Like reading around the campfire and, you know, he has this rule where they're not allowed to say the word interesting because it's like a cop-out. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not a real word you got to actually define. So, like, I like a lot of that stuff that he does.
I told myself for this short little podcast that I would try not to use the word interesting or, like, the words I use all the time because I'm like, oh, crap, he's right. Interesting is a non-word.
Yeah, non-word. So I get the stuff he's trying to do, but obviously you can't lean that far into it. There's some other things you have to do because the kids, I mean, you can give them all the knowledge that you want, but they can't exist in society without learning some societal rules. And, that scene that you're talking about is one of my favorites. That girl that he, like, makes out with and proposes to, she's in the new show The Boys. She plays Starlight. So
okay. I was like, God, she looks so familiar, but I forgot to look at what she was in.
Yep,
that's right.
But yeah, like, that scene is just heartbreaking because, and he has a scene later on with his dad because, George Bo is his character name. He proposes, like, he has this great interaction with her, but then proposes and kind of gets laughed at. Then he sits down with his dad, and they have one of the best scenes in the movie for me.
Yep.
Is
I noted this one too.
Yeah. Is so they're sitting down, just the two of them, and he shows his dad all the acceptance letters from college, and his dad's like, "I can't believe you did this behind my back," and he kind of starts laying into him, and then Bo responds with, "This was Mom. Like, Mom did this. We did this together because she knew that you can only teach us to a certain extent, and we just have to be part of society at some point." And he has his line where I'm going to paraphrase a little bit, but he goes, "I know nothing." He goes, like, "I know nothing if it isn't in a book. I don't know how to interact with people." And it's just, like, it's sad, but it's so true to a certain extent that's just one of my favorite scenes, and I think that's when Viggo's character starts maybe realizing that you can't lean so far into it. as well, because I don't remember when, but at some point after that. Well, actually, it's after. So one of his kids, his youngest son, I want to say,
Yeah.
has kind of been angry with him ever since he found out his mom died, because he's mad at his dad because he thinks it's his dad's fault that their mom died, and he runs away to his grandpa, played by Frank Langella. So he's like the father-in-law to Viggo's character, and says that he doesn't want to leave, he wants to be with them. And Viggo sends one of his daughters to like break him out of the house. So she's like jumping on the rooftop and climbing around, because they're all in great shape, because part of his regimen is having them run every day and rock climb, which I felt some of that stuff was a little much, even though for, like, I get what he's trying to do. I felt like, okay, you're kind of unnecessarily putting your kids in danger here for the most part, so I thought he was pushing it a little bit there, but he has her jump on the roof to try to break the son out, and she falls off the roof and, like, breaks a leg or fractures her leg or something.
Gets a concussion.
Yeah, and the doctor says if this was, like, a millimeter lower, she'd be paralyzed.
Or dead.
Or dead. So, like, he realizes that he's maybe putting his kids in somewhat of unnecessary danger, and agrees to leave them with their grandpa, Frank Langella. But, you know, their kids realize, too, like, listen, you can't just give us up. Like, we don't want to lose you. We lost Mom. We don't want to lose you, too.
Yep.
So that's where, in the end, they come up with the compromise of they have a house kind of in the middle of nowhere, but the kids are still going to school because they need to interact with other kids to some extent.
Yeah, they need to have some sort of outside experience.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I love the end scene, because it just shows their, tiny little house, and you're right, it's kind of like in the middle of nowhere, but, they're all kind of working on their homework at the breakfast table, which was very similar to at the beginning when they're all sitting around the campfire reading books. Like, it's a very similar vibe, but then he's like, hey, 15 minutes until the school bus gets here. So you realize, like, okay, like, the kids are going to school, and he realized, like, we can still do a lot of the things that we want to do. Like, the core stuff that he values, he was still able to do, but also, like, grow a little bit and give them more of what he couldn't provide.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I thought it was a perfect ending to the movie. I thought it was great. Viggo's great in it. I don't always agree with his character, but like, his acting in the movie is great. So I think well deserving of the Oscar nomination of that year. And I kind of want to look up to see who won that year over him. 2016 Academy Awards. Okay, so that was when Casey Affleck won for Manchester by the Sea.
Okay.
Other nominees: Andrew Garfield for Hacksaw Ridge, Ryan Gosling, La La Land, Denzel for Fences.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I get why he didn't win, but I'm glad that he got the nomination, because it can bring some like awareness. I always say that for smaller movies like this, but I think it's true that when you get a big time nomination like that, more people will go see it. So. Definitely happy.
Yeah. Do you have a score for the movie?
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 9.
Me too.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
On the same page. Yeah, I do. I really like this movie. I think it's very underrated. So it's like it's a 7.9 on IMDb. It's something in the mid 80s on Rotten Tomatoes for both the an 82% for the critics, 85% for audience, which I think is a little low. I think Viggo's performance and just how you can see how much he loves his kids, but trying to raise them the way that him and his wife wanted to, and just the fighting for that, and the pain of maybe realizing that it isn't 100% correct and being willing to compromise for it. I think his performance is great, even though I think his character maybe pushes the boundaries a little bit. So yeah, I'm gonna give it a 9.
Awesome. Yeah, that's what I gave it to. It's, I'm looking at the movie poster right now, and they have a quote on the top that says, charmingly eccentric, sweet, and funny. And I think that's such a great way to describe it. Like, it is. It's a really charming story, and there are moments where, like, it brings out a lot of emotions in you. Like, there are a lot of funny scenes.
Yeah. Like Viggo's very blunt. Like, he tells the truth to all of his kids. So, like, the smallest daughter is like, what's rape? Oh, it's when a man, or it's when a person, usually a man, forcibly has intercourse with another person, usually a woman.
And then she's like, "What sexual intercourse?"
Yeah.
And they just...
When a penis goes inside a vagina.
And she just keeps like, "Why would you want to do that?" And she just, keep question after question. And he just honestly keeps answering every single one. And so, yeah, it's just like a really charming scene. And there are funny moments, there are sad moments. And, but like in the end, like I think everyone's really, like you're happy with where everyone's at.
Yeah, like Viggo's great, but the best part are the kids and like their reaction to the world in general.
Yeah.
Is really good. Sad, like for both good and bad. Like we said, Bo's reaction of realizing he has no idea how to interact with people, very sad, but like great in the sense of the movie. But then there's a lot of funny moments too. Like they don't celebrate Christmas; they celebrate what's the person? It's like this person's birthday.
Yeah, shoot, I can't remember.
Let's see. Noam Chomsky.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah,
they celebrate Noam Chomsky's birthday instead of Christmas, and the youngest son is like, "Why do we do this?" And he's, "Well, you want to celebrate a, fictitious like elf-like person instead of like a humanitarian who's done great things for the world." And it's like, okay, I get what you're saying, but like, come on.
Yeah. And the gift he gets for like every single kid is it's a weapon. Most of them get knives.
Yeah, it's just that's some of the stuff. We're like, okay, a little too far. I get what he's doing, but like, okay, that's a little too far.
kind
You're
of
giving
on
a
that.
5-year-old a knife.
Yeah.
Imagine like, just giving a 10-year-old kid just the sharpest knife around.
Yeah.
Like,
kind of on that line though, one of my favorite scenes, like one of the funniest things is I think it's when they first stop at the diner and they're like, what are hot dogs? What's cola? And he's like, we gotta leave. Like, this place doesn't have real food. And one of the younger kids is like, why is everyone so fat? Are they sick? They all look like hippos. And he's like, yes, okay, people are overweight, but we do not make fun of people, okay? Except Christians.
Yeah.
And you're just like, what?
And then they pretend.
Very next scene, they get pulled over by a cop and he's like in their bus, and it's like the inside has like a few seats, but part of it is like some living space and whatever. And so the cop's like, hey, so school's not in session today? Like he's kind of poking around like, why are you driving around in this like weird modified bus with all your kids? And then they all start like join into some like weird religious prayer and whatever, and basically just freaking the cop out. And he's like, okay, like you're weird religious cult people, okay, I will leave you alone, kind of thing. So it's like, that they're like totally playing this off so that people will leave them alone. So it's funny, a little ridiculous, but it's funny.
Highly recommend. I don't think it's a movie a lot of people have seen or maybe heard of, so go see it. It's on Hulu. Just for like how the kids and Viggo interact with each other alone, I think is great. A lot of funny moments, a lot of sad moments. So overall, I think it's just a great experience. So go check it out for sure.
Yeah. Anything else before we wrap up?
One last quick thing about Captain Fantastic. So it was written and directed by Matt Ross. Do you know who that is?
No, I don't.
You should click on, I have IMDb up right now. Click on that name.
Okay. Oh my god! It's the guy from Silicon Valley.
It's Gavin Belson from Silicon Valley. That's who wrote and directed Captain Fantastic.
No
Who's Gavin
way.
Gavin Belson.
Oh my god, my mind's like blown right now.
Yeah.
Because the only thing I know him from is playing Gavin.
Being a jerk.
And he's, like the worst kind of human. Oh my god, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
This must have been one of his, so at the end of the show, he turns into a writer, so of books, is one of his things he does.
Projects.
Yep. He was busy writing Captain Fantastic.
Oh, that's nuts.
Maybe he drew the experiences from being in the Himalayas or Tibet for all those years, being on his own.
Oh my god.
I thought that was completely random and interesting, though.
Yes! Oh my god, that's fantastic. I'll never look at that movie the same way again. It's funny because, like I said, I only know him from Silicon Valley, so it's one of those things, like, I know that that's not the kind of person he is in real life, but that's just what I imagine he would be. So I'm like, how could such an awful human write such a wonderful story?
Oh, that's awesome.
Yep.
I'm glad you found that.
Yep.
Awesome. We don't know what our next movie is yet.
I think it'll be Groundhog Day.
Okay, Groundhog Day, because what does life feel like right now besides Groundhog Day?
Yep.
Okay. So that will stay tuned for that on our next little recap episode, and tune in again next time.